Hey everybody, it's Dick here. This is part 2 of my ride on the 2022 Indian Super Chief Limited. The Super Chief Limited is a 116 cubic inch or 1890 cc air-cooled V-twin Thunderstroke engine. It has a 6-speed transmission, puts out 120 foot-pounds of torque or 162 newton meters. It has 79 brake horsepower, which for such a large engine seems a bit dismal to me. But unfortunately, that is the nature of a American air-cooled V-twin like this one. It has a single 300mm semi-floating rotor and 4-piston caliper front brake, a single 300mm floating 2-piston caliper rear brake, 16-inch spoked wheels front and back, 46mm telescoping fork, dual externally mounted shocks with adjustable preload, only 3 inches or 75mm of rear wheel travel. If you haven't already, please check out part 1 of this video series before proceeding on with this video. This video finally finds me out on the motorway, seeing if the Super Chief fares better out on the open road rather than putting through town.
Now, 4th gear, 2,500 RPM, 50 miles an hour in this average speed zone. The exhaust is deafened by the wind noise and the engine just kind of rattling like loose nuts and bolts in a toolbox between my legs. Fair amount of vibrations in my arms, fair amount of vibrations in my feet, and an uncomfortable amount of vibrations in my crotch and ass. 2,500 RPM. Hopefully I get out of this 50 mile an hour zone to a 70 and I can really open it up and see what it's like in top gear and what the vibrations are like. But at the moment, I'm not very impressed. The brake pedal down here is way high. That needs to be adjusted if it's possible. There's a little brake reservoir very close to where the brake should be resting. I don't know if you can see it down there, but I gotta lift my leg to get that brake because my little size 10s are, it's a struggle to get that brake. I'm told that the base model comes with, or anything other than the Super Chief, comes with forward pegs. The base model comes with mid-set pegs, and with these vibrations that I'm feeling in the footboards, I think my feet would be very uncomfortable. I might be feeling more vibrations in my feet because I couldn't find my boots this morning. I'm wearing my New Balances. So that might be a bit of an excuse of why I'm feeling so much vibration in my feet right now, but there's no excuse for how much vibration I'm feeling in my throttle hand. A lot of part spin stuff shared with the Scout. These mirrors are on the Scout. I've seen those. Actually, there's nicer indicators on the Scout. Standard grips from the Scout. So a bit underwhelmed, and I'll tell you why I'm even more underwhelmed. I like the Indians because they undercut, or they used to undercut the Harleys in price. This thing is 20,000 Great British pounds. Now you can add the COVID inflation to that, and you can add the Brexit inflation to that. But even the COVID inflation and the Brexit inflation that we've been seeing in other items does not really justify a stripped down cruiser. Cruisers with all the fairings and all the bullshit on the Challengers, they were expensive at 17. And so to get on this, oh, my coccyx is getting a bit uncomfortable. I said this was a more comfortable seat than the Scout, but the vibrations are really going right into my coccyx here. Maybe the mid-set controls will be more comfortable on this thing, sit me more upright. But no, I brought my feet back on the ends of these diving board footboards, and I got even more vibrations. So I think it's giving me a sense of what the vibrations would be. Is this national speed limit now? Are we out of the 50? Everyone seems to be passing me. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna open her up a little bit. See. Okay. All right, that was quick. I went from 50 to 70 in an instant. 4,000 RPM, fourth gear, 80 miles an hour and climbing. This is fourth gear, 4,000 RPM. I can see why there's a windshield on this, because I'm getting lots of wind turbulence coming around that windshield, and I think this would be uncomfortable. But this thing is cooking at 80 miles an hour, sitting very solidly, 4,000 RPMs, 80 miles an hour, fourth gear. Took it up to fifth gear, drops to 3,200 RPM, 81 miles an hour. It's settled in nicely. Vibrations have mellowed a bit in the handlebar. Now, I say that, but maybe it's just being masked by the wind turbulence. A lot of vibration in my ass, right in the small of my back and my coccyx, my tailbone. Sitting comfortably at 80. I mean, when you hit 80 at sixth gear on the Scout, that's where the wind turbulence kind of throws you apart. This has a windshield. I think the wind turbulence will be throwing me apart here. Let's go to sixth gear and see what we got. Oh wow, 85 in an instant. 90, 3,000 RPM, sixth gear. Yeah, this is a highway monster. Still lots of vibes, still lots of wind turbulence. So without this windshield, I think I would be very uncomfortable and I wouldn't want to be up at these speeds. Rolling back, 3,000 RPMs, 80 miles an hour. Still vibration in the throttle hand. I gotta search for that brake pedal. Engine braking is a bit limp. It's okay when you downshift, but when you're up in that top gear and just you feel like you're freewheeling a bit. Yeah, low speeds, it just kind of, it's like loose change in your pocket. It's like all those nuts and bolts that you have at the end of a DIY session rattling around in the toolbox. But when you get up here around 3,000 to 4,000 RPM, you feel where the power is on this bike. Oh my God. Fourth gear, 70 miles an hour, 3,500 RPM, and my whole body is vibrating. Crazy. Lots of vibrations. I kind of know why the bigger Indians were all fared like they were, because I can't imagine this thing without its windshield. And without its windshield, it would look like a little beach cruiser. You know, it looked like a boulevard cruiser. First, second gear, thump, 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 thump. Who's looking at me? Who can I see out today? But at the low speeds, it's boring as shit. And out here on the highway at speed, you feel where the power is, but British highways are not interesting, so why? And the interesting roads you're not riding 70, 80, 90 miles an hour on. I think this would work in America. But, you know, pin straight highways in America are boring as well, so I'm a bit confused. You know, Indian they made a good Harley. For 7 grand more than a Harley. If this was 13,000 pounds, 15,000 pounds, with all of the extras that the super 20 grand version comes with, maybe. But I still wouldn't be interested. 13,000 pounds. What can you get for 13,000 pounds these days? A lot more bike than this. Yeah, they made a good Harley. Well done, Indian. You made a good Harley Davidson. And you know, since Harley Davidson isn't going to be making Harley Davidsons anymore, maybe you did it because you saw a gap in the market. Maybe this is the smartest business decision you could have done. But for this motorcyclist, well, I'd save the money and buy a Harley if I was going to buy one of these. Yeah, to get the revs up where I want to feel it, I'm in a lower gear, I'm not in top gear, and then I'm really vibing. If I want to be comfortable, I gotta be in top gear and I don't feel that peak power. I've heard a lot of people are dumping their scouts and putting deposits on this, and I don't know why. I think it's foolhardy. What else can I say about it? It's got fork shrouds. Oh, interesting. Now that I'm out on the highway, oh, haha, that's funny. I thought I was flashing this guy to move over. Yeah, that's funny. I thought I was flashing this guy to move over because he was sitting in the fast lane with no one in front of him. And I changed the display. This is the display button. I'm cycling through the display. I don't know if it's coming up here. So I wonder how I literally have to reach. I gotta reach across the horn button. So that's a blank button there, the horn here. Reach across the horn button to get to the high beams and low beams. Oh, that. Okay, so if I want to flash, it's the bottom high of the high beam toggle, and you got to reach across these buttons, this big gauge interface, and with my little Trump hands I got to reach over there. There's also, oh, I can also, so I can cycle with the trigger, I can cycle with this toggle here. There's a button with some music notes on it there. I don't know what that does. Cruise control down here. A power button and a blank button on the top there. I wonder if you're going a certain speed. Okay, self-canceling. I'm gonna see how self-canceling works. Still blinking. Still blinking. Still blinking, annoying the people behind me. Oh, now it's canceled. So, a bit longer than my comfort level and my toe pick OCD button pushing indicator canceling. So even though it's self-canceling, if I was following someone on this bike, just canceled, or I was on this bike and someone was following me, they would tell me that my indicator, that I forgot to turn my indicator off. Huh. I wonder what made the software engineer let it blink that long. Yeah, I think with the windshield you can go far and fast on this. I am feeling a bit fatigued on it. I can check my... So on this ride... Oh. It hasn't started anything. So it was paused. It didn't start automatically. So I have no idea how long I've been on the bike. That's interesting. It was paused from when I turned the bike on. 16-inch front wheel and rear wheel, I think. I think the one in between this has a 17 or 18-inch front wheel and a narrower gauge on it, so more like the early Triumph bobbers. It's got twin outside mounted shocks, single disc on the front, and for a 116, I don't know why there's a single disc on the front. So there's choices that are being made that are definitely economic. The metal that they've used on the cylinder heads, they got the great old school shape of the cylinder heads. But when you look at the metal, it's chromed, but it looks kind of like pot metal. It doesn't look high quality. Looks like if you hit it with a ball peen hammer very lightly, it would shatter. The plastics seem a bit cheap. The single disc on the front seems like a budget choice. mounting twin shocks on the outside of the frame. That's a budget choice. So there are budget choices that I forgave on the Scout because the Scout was more economical for the performance and the power you're getting. But on a 20 grand bike, I can't condone budgetary choices. Yeah, so I found a turnaround because I'm bored. That's not boring, but my ass is asleep now. Right now, it's being woken up to be raped. I don't know if the camera picks up the side mirrors, but they just vibrated like my Enfield. I think my Enfield cost me 5 grand. The styling of a Harley, the vibrations of an Enfield.
If you like that video and you want to see more like them, hit like, share, and subscribe.